Hello everyone, my name is Quang, and I am the Director of the Market Integration Directorate of the ASEAN Secretariat. Today it is my great honor to share my insight in one of the most interesting and important topics in the ASEAN digital transformation agenda, the startup development in ASEAN. What is a startup? Let me start by having the basic questions. Why we need to nurture the growth of startup? With a very few exceptions, many ASEAN member countries have not established the legal term of startup. Malaysia, for example, has introduced some elements in considering the startup, namely a technology or innovations enable business at early stage with a scalable business model and a high growth strategy. Singapore, on the other hand, conceives startup as a firm that has innovative product or business model or with the potential to be a disruptor and who is less than 5 years of age and employ at least one person, very specific. Meanwhile, the Philippines define a startup as a person or registered entity in the Philippines which aim to develop innovative product, process, or business model. No matter how specific or how broad those definitions are, they share the two main characteristics. The startup, which is young and relatively small, and second, it is potential growth by design is mainly driven by innovation and a scalable business model. According to the Global Startup Ecosystem Report, the global startup market continues growing and it now worth over 3.8 trillion US dollars, in which Asia accounts for 30% of the world top ranking ecosystem. And fortunately, ASEAN is one of the prime destinations for startups. In 2021, it was estimated that at least 5,800 active startups operating across the regions in the various areas, including like e-commerce, financial technology, medical treatment, enterprise solutions, big data, and so on and so forth. According to the same report, Singapore tops the startup ecosystem list in the Southeast Asia with the ranking of 17 among the 30 top global startup ecosystem. Other ASEAN cities are ranked in the top 100 emerging ecosystem are Jakarta of Indonesia, followed by Kuala Lumpur, Ho Chi Minh City, Bangkok, and Manila. As a result, ASEAN countries have successfully introduced more than 35 unicorn decacorn over the last several years, with Singapore and Indonesia forming the last part of the share. Other countries have produced a fair share of unicorn, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, and the Philippines. What are the major factors influencing the startup performance? And can we, as the policymakers, increase the chance for success of startup? While individual countries may pursue different policy, ASEAN as a region could offer a comprehensive approach and complementary solution to support startup ecosystem at the regional level. Every year, thousands of ambitious entrepreneurs choose ASEAN as the land to start their businesses with a very strong motivation and high hope for benefit. Many of them are startups by design who continue delivering innovative business model, goods and services to serve better our society and our economy. However, according to general estimations, the success rate of startup is extremely low. At least 20% of them fail in the first year of operations. 50% of them cannot survive through 5 years. And this number increased to 70% after 10 years. For that, in 2020, ASEAN identified 7 common factors that substantively influence the startup performance in its guideline on fostering a vibrant ecosystem for startup. Those factors are regulatory framework, digital infrastructure, market conditions, financing instrument, enabling environment, access to talent, and finally, the entrepreneurship culture. How should ASEAN contribute in promoting startup ecosystem? In fact, ASEAN could offer a great fertile land for startup to scale, to grow, and to thrive at the regional level and beyond. Here are several reasons. First, ASEAN is one of the most largest and dynamic markets in the world. It is a home of more than 660 million people with a combined GDP of more than 3 trillion US dollars. ASEAN is truly the powerhouse of the global economy. Second, all ASEAN economies are ready to embrace digital transformation. With nearly 460 million active internet users, ASEAN is virtually one of the largest internet space in the world. In 2020, the internet economy of ASEAN hit 100 billion US dollar and is expected to reach 360 billion US dollar in 2025. And third, ASEAN is proactively become the hub of FTA, ASEAN Free Trade Areas network. That play a significant role to consolidate and facilitate trade and investment. And that can give a fundamental for startups to scale their business model across the region. Last, and of course not least, ASEAN is also able to intensify a funding facility and financial resource for the startup in the regions. It is estimated that the combined valuation of startup will increase from 340 billion US dollars in 2020 to 1 trillion US dollar in 2025. Now, toward the regional digital economy, the success rate of the startup is really a precursor for the dynamic growth of the digital economy. It is because the power of the startup lies at the capability to access necessary resources such as funding, digital connectivity, and talent in a scalable digital integrated market. Those are fundamental also of the ASEAN digital economy, which comprise 6 components. 1. Infrastructure. 2. Logistics. and e-commerce. 4. Data governance. 5. Cybersecurity. And 6. Inclusiveness. All of these fundamentals are now being built by ASEAN through the implementation of the so-called Banda Seri Begawan Roadmap, an ASEAN digital transformation agenda to accelerate the ASEAN economic recovery and digital economic integration. Let me give you a snapshot of what is the BSBR means. BSBR basically demonstrates the most ambitious commitment of ASEAN to negotiate a legally binding digital agreement by 2025. It also highlighted a robust agenda which comprised various key initiatives to be undertaken by a relevant sector body of ASEAN toward the development of the ASEAN digital economy. And those initiatives are structured in a building block approach where BSBR provides a concrete plan starting from 2022 to prepare for the full launch of the negotiation for the Digital Economy Framework Agreement, a comprehensive agreement that aims to create a seamless digital ecosystem across the regions. While moving steadily toward a regional integrated economy, the realization of a common ASEAN startup ecosystem cannot go without challenges. Considering 7-factor influencing startup performance, ASEAN is actually encounter a number of obstacles. There remain significant proportion of population do not have affordable access to a broadband service, and thus they are simply could not fully benefit the digital transformation. Limited human resource, lack of coherent regulatory framework, and lack of financial facility are all the impediments to that hold up the progress in promoting startup in the regions. Having said that, this challenge requires ASEAN to intensify the collective effort with a focus on sustaining ASEAN startup ecosystem and also complementary to individual ASEAN efforts. That is why the proposed ASEAN framework to promote startup ecosystem in ASEAN is the solution. It shall consolidate ASEAN effort in 6 key elements, including talent, education, connectedness, infrastructure, finance, and coherent regulatory framework. And moreover, the ASEAN startup ecosystem shall establish a cohesive and conducive, globally connected digital startup ecosystem while pursuing innovation that enhance the ASEAN global competitiveness. For that reason, in this year, the finalization of the framework was identified as the key economic deliverable under the Cambodia Chairmanship year 2022. ASEAN fully recognized the role of startup in transforming our economy by catalyzing innovation and driving innovation to promote job and economic benefit. As highlighted in the ASEAN Guideline on Fostering a Vibrant Ecosystem for Startups in Southeast Asia, quote and unquote, business do not involve in vacuum, and innovative activity are highly porous. And that is the barriers to entrepreneurship are multifaceted and require comprehensive package. In return, the development of the startup would support the successful development of the ASEAN digital economy. In this connection, ASEAN welcomes all forms of cooperation, collaboration, technical assistance from different external partners like China, Korea, Japan, the US, EU, and so on, in implementing the framework. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the ASEAN Korean Center for letting me to share my perspective. And with that note, I thank you very much for your kind attention.